I suppose no. You know what? You are actually right, because it was when the second goal went in.
Yes.
When the second goal went in, and that sort of the pressure drops, and you think, what a performance, what a result.
Yeah.
No, when Heung-min Son is bearing down on goal.
That was awful.
No.
Yeah, don't take me back to that moment.
My hairline went back about 2 or 3 yards just as he was
Slowly.
Yeah.
Just like that. Like when you do a knitted jumper and it's line after line.
The official Manchester City podcast. Watch the full video version of this show via City Plus now.
Hello and a very Merry Christmas, and to all a good wassailing as well, I might add. Welcome to a very special episode of the official Man City podcast. I don't know where that came from. It's the Christmas spirit. I must have already been on the sherry.
A bit merry.
Yeah.
A bit merry, yeah.
You do what you do, my friend.
Yeah, well, you know, that's how I roll.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's why we love you.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Well, thank you both for coming in, having a chat today. Liam, my delightful fellow host, and Nedum, our delightful co-host.
Two Christmas jumpers.
Yeah.
Boom.
This one kind of counts, doesn't it?
Jumper.
Yeah,
It's
it's definitely a
Christmas
jumper.
Eve.
Yeah.
He's wearing a jumper at Christmas, yeah. So technically speaking, I suppose it is a Christmas jumper.
It's a Christmas jumper.
It's a
hat.
reach, but
Technicality.
I know,
you got
yeah.
You got it on the technicality. Fair.
I don't know if you can see the hat on the tree in the wide shot. I put that on, and the reaction was fair to middling, I'd say.
I thought you rocked it. I'll be honest with you. I thought you looked 10-10.
Yeah. You could land a helicopter on my forehead, so I didn't really fancy exposing it, so I've left it. So this is the best I could do.
That's good, man. You look good.
At short notice. I do apologise.
You look good.
Before we get into it all, how are you both planning to spend your Christmases?
For me, it's a controversial one this year. We're actually having Christmas dinner out. Yeah.
Ooh.
It's the first time, very first time. Usually it's my family, my sisters, my dad, and my wife's family coming over to ours on Christmas Day. We usually, well, not me, but someone's usually chefing up and stuff. I'm just the entertainer as such.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
That's the most important part of it, obviously. You know, I'm the organizer, you know, get everything going. Well, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, this year we've had an issue. We've had an issue with the ovens. One of the ovens keeps tripping out the electrics. So could you imagine that on Christmas
Can't
Day?
risk it. Cannot risk that.
Our oven also went a few weeks ago, so
Yeah.
we've got it fixed in the lineup for Christmas Day.
Yeah, ours isn't 100% yet, so we had to make an early decision. We did it. It's very controversial amongst the people involved, but we're still spending time together, so we'll be all right.
That's the key thing. It sounds like it was a decision that had to be made as well.
Yeah.
It's taken out of our hands.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I know you guys all want to sit comfortably in our house and be fed, but unfortunately you're going to have to come into town. So, yeah, it's fine. That's the way it goes.
What about you, Leo? What are you doing?
I am having a Christmas, me and my partner at home, just us, and I'm going to chef it up.
Cool.
On my first time doing the whole thing. Start small.
First time, yeah?
Yeah. I'm a whiz anyways, but
Yeah.
Okay.
Christmas dinner, I'll get it done, start small, and then potentially progress to the whole family coming.
Okay,
But
don't mind it.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I just love sitting in front of TV, watching terrible films. No doubt Shrek will be on
Yeah.
about 4 times,
Yeah,
so
no question.
get into that.
How about you,
All
G?
4 of them. I'm back with family. So me and my wife grew up very close to each other. So we always flip-flop between the two families. So this year it's Christmas Day morning, because we always have a curry on Christmas Eve night as well, which is an unreal tradition from her family, by the way.
Okay,
Yeah, so we stop overnight at her mum and dad's, open some presents, and then hop over to my mum and dad's for dinner, and probably a very aggressive game of Risk, which is normally what happens. Like my dad is the most mild-mannered, lovely bloke you'll ever meet. You get him in front of a board game, he's an animal.
He's a winner, yeah.
Absolute.
Hey, look, I respect
animal.
it. Amongst my brothers, it's not
Yeah.
Christmas till someone's crying. So
Yeah.
that's how we stay. It's got to be.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it'll be fun though. It'll be a good one. Looking forward to it. But let's get stuck into our very festive podcast. I mean, the decoration is fantastic, so I'm feeling in the Christmas mood. Don't know about you guys. Let's start off with reflections of the year. So 2024 obviously has been another really memorable and overall successful year for the club. I mean, we've 4th Premier League. No one's ever done that before. The women got back into the Champions League. We've got a Ballon d'Or winner for the first time. But let's focus on the games first. Which games have really stood out for you? So maybe let's start with the men's team, the first team. Liam, if you had to pick one game, or maybe 2 or 3, we're in a Christmas mood.
Yeah, sure.
It's all about sharing. What would you say are the games that have really stood out for you in 2024?
I feel like I've spoken about it to anyone that listens, and people probably think you only watch that game all year because it's the only game I talk about, but it's that Newcastle game.
Oh, yeah, in January.
Yeah, De Bruyne coming back, the Oscar Bob goal, and it just felt like we're back now. And it's like, headlines sort of write themselves, and it was like De Bruyne coming back, hitting the ground running, Return of the King, and you're like, yeah, this is going to be it. This is good for us now. We'll win the league. And that, to me, is just like unbelievable. That was the best one.
It was unreal. That game as well, I know of Kevin De Bruyne coming back in, showing exactly what he's made of. Oscar Bob as well, getting the plaudits, because we've all seen him in the academy and getting the odd opportunity here. I think he was in the pre-season before as well. But to actually see him get that chance and do it was brilliant. It felt like just rewards, really.
Yeah, for sure. And the finish is ridiculous as well. You know, and that's his first goal. How's that your first goal, making it look like nobody's doing that? You know what I mean? The touch itself, and then they decided a little over and then finish. Like, honestly, amazing. And you're right. That feels like a real significant turning point in that season. It's not to say that they were struggling before, but from then, the momentum's just different. It's different, yeah. I think for me, when I think about games, mine's a bit more like family biased, I'll be honest, yeah. So I've got 3 kids, 10, 7 and 6. Great kids. Obviously, I'm biased, but they're great kids, yeah.
You're like, probably top 3.
They're probably 3 best kids in the world.
Top 3 in the world.
And they're mine. You know, coincidence? I think not. But the first game that they'd ever been to of a City game was City against Wolves towards the end of the season. I think it was the penultimate home game. And it's 5-1. Haaland scores 4. And I remember being in the stands with my kids. I'm like, oh, Haaland scored! Oh, Haaland scored again! Haaland scored again! Like, Haaland scored again! And they're like in love with that stadium, in love with that moment. And because they've been looking at City from a distance, watching football from a distance with the like EA and stuff like that, for them to see them up close, like they fell in love with the game to a whole new level then. Especially like the men's side of things, because I was very lucky to take them to the women's derby as well the year before. And that was like an amazing experience. And like for that to be their first men's game, honestly, like I couldn't have wished for an easier like introduction to football, because everyone in that stadium was happy, unless you were wearing the black and gold of Wolves. You know, everyone else in there, oh, look how good this is. This champagne football. Like, I remember Wolves scored, and then 30 seconds later, Haaland says, no, that's not good enough. And he went up and just slapped one in the top corner the other side. And I remember thinking, like, that went a lot better than it could have done. And I think my kids have now, like, fallen in love with the men's team as well as the women's team. And that's the whole thing about, you know, being part of City, because they're very much part of that now.
That's the lovely thing as well, like, because the 50,000 other people in that stadium, but for your kids, when you're that age and you go to your first game, or it's that first core memory, it feels like it's yours, doesn't it? So like,
there's so much innocence to it, because we're not old, but we're older, and we've seen lots of things so many times before. So at times you're like jaded, and you don't really appreciate the little things. But for them, I remember how excited they were when they were just watching the players come out. You know what I mean? I remember excited they were when they just seen somebody just get on the ball. Oh, such and such got the ball. And like, I've seen them have the ball like 1,000 times. But for them, all of a sudden, they're really into it, into the details of it. And yeah, it was an amazing moment for me and my family.
That end of the season part's always so exciting as well. And we always seem to be picking up the results, the momentum, and you get these results.
Listen, I'm going to jump in here, though. I'm going to jump in. Okay. So this is as you look back at the end when you know how it's finished.
True.
Yeah.
In that second half of the season, when everybody's like wants to win, I don't know if there's a team in the league that enjoys football in that final 2-3 months of the season, because you know then that you're one bad spell away from everything going west, and you're like thinking, oh, come on. Like if it's 0-0 at half time, you're nervous, because there's no team that's better than the team that's playing against your team in that moment. You could have seen them play against someone the week before and said, oh, they're no good, and now here they are, like, oh, they're gonna do it. I've seen this before. I've seen this before.
That is so true.
That anxiety, it hits you differently, you know.
Because you look back and you see all the wins and you're like, oh, it was... Yes. See all the green W's, you're like, easy. But then it's like, you have that moment of, right, I can't watch a game today, let me just refresh. 0-0, and you're like, ooh, maybe I haven't got 3G. Maybe it's not loaded, and you're like, oh no, the time's going up, and you're like, yeah, it'll be fine,
Exactly. And no one enjoys it, because everyone is very close to achieving what they've worked very hard for. You know, you enjoy it at the end when it's all said and done. But even to the last game of the season against West Ham, City are top, Arsenal were trying to win the league title. How confident were City fans sitting in that stadium when the game started? Yeah, you're probably nervous until Phil Foden slaps one into the bottom corner. You know what I mean? That's what gets you going. But there's still anxiety that lives there, because you want it so badly. And first half of the season, you've got your highs and lows, your disappointments. Second half of the season, like, you're trusting. But still, like, this is where I struggle the most. Having played, I liked it when it was in my control.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, my hands are tired. I'm just watching. I'm thinking, please.
Can't influence
Please.
I think like moments like that, you said, final game of the season, you're even more anxious because you spend all week telling people it's fine.
Yeah,
man.
it's
Of
fine.
course, of course it will. Or if it doesn't matter anyways. Like we've done X, Y, Z, and then you're like, oh,
Yeah.
this will goes, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
now I'm feeling it. Now it's getting a bit. And
Get in your own head.
Yeah,
don't
all
you?
of a sudden, Kudus looks like a Ballon d'Or for West Ham at the end of the season. You're like, oh, wow, he's looking good today. Eh? This, you know what I mean?
Was some goal, by the way.
Yeah, it
Because
was.
that
It was. But it's. I think it's the beauty of football in itself. You know, you want to feel some sort of emotion at the end of the season. You know, you wouldn't necessarily like want to be trapped to mid-table. Don't get me wrong. That feeling at the top is the same as the feeling at the bottom, as we've experienced that. Like, thankfully, a long time ago as well. But to see, as you said, we watched them become history makers. You know, no team had ever done that before. I think at some point in the future, we'll really be able to talk about it for what it's worth, because we'll see some great teams for the rest of our lives. But it's unlikely any team will ever do that again. You know, it's truly, truly historical. And credit to those guys that did it.
Well, it took, 130 years, 135 years-ish
That's
for it
wild.
to happen the
Like,
first time.
absolutely wild.
I know. And they're winning it by a point, 2 points, 3 points, you know. So I think that's essentially a bad week of football.
Yeah.
Bad week of football and you don't win a title.
Mad, isn't it? Mad. Well, I see your Newcastle, I see your Wolves, and I raise you Spurs away.
For the result or for the game?
Well, I would argue for the game, because I don't
Behave
know.
yourself.
I'm a bit of a weird. I loved the jeopardy of it. And
Sicko. This
loved
guy's
it.
not
I
well.
know.
This guy's
I
not well.
know.
This guy's not well.
I know. It was. I suppose no. Actually, no. You know what? You are actually right, because it was when the second goal went in.
Yes.
When the second goal went in, and that sort of the pressure drops, and you think, what a performance, what a result.
Yeah.
No, when Heung-min Son is bearing down on goal,
That was awful.
no.
Yeah.
No.
Don't take me back to that moment.
My hairline went back about 2 or 3 yards just to see what
Slowly.
Yeah.
Just like that. See it going. Like when you do a knitted jumper and it's line up the line.
I was like,
Flying off in the wind.
I appreciate.
aged me.
To be fair, I appreciate what it meant, because like we have no real good history at Spurs. You know,
Yeah.
in that stadium at least. Anyway, you know what I mean. So knowing that, like, to not guarantee the league title, but to give yourself the best chance, you have to win at Spurs. Yeah. Listen, I take this. There's like, at the time in my mind, there's like Anfield and the Spurs Stadium, the two places where you just don't want to be checking saying that we have to win here.
Yeah, you don't want to be relying on that.
Yeah, you don't have to rely on that. But Spurs were in shambles. But I thought Spurs played quite well overall.
Yeah.
It's a weird atmosphere. There were Arsenal fans supporting Spurs. There was like everyone's tuning in, like, this is so confusing. The crowd were like up and down. But then, as you say, when that penalty goes in from Haaland, listen, that's probably one of the highs of the season, I'd say, without a doubt.
The other one as well, which, I mean, it seems weird to kind of bring it up, but you mentioned Anfield. I know we didn't win, but the point at Anfield, when John Stones scored early on, and then McAllister scored a penalty, I think, but the performance, that game was...
He's this guy.
It's jeopardy.
You've got some...
not.
No, you got some rolls in those glasses, you know, honestly.
I think it's the hindsight thing.
Yeah,
Looks back,
I think
think
it
it's
is.
a good
No, 'cause-
performance, because in the time,
Bro, second half, I was
No,
watching the game from behind my sofa.
Yeah,
that's
like,
the
we
point. That's
dominated
the
that
point.
first
Like,
half.
there's a bit of an excitement in that. Though, isn't there?
Excitement.
Yeah.
You're a
You get-
sicko, honestly. You are a sicko. First half, I thought, wow, City are so good.
Yeah.
And then there's a spell in the second half where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is happening. And then there was the incident with Jeremy at the end where he could have given away a penalty in the last kick of the game.
Yeah.
There was no, like, in fairness, in my house at the time for that game, there were a couple of Liverpool fans sitting right next to me, and they were far more comfortable in the second half than I was. Like, I was hiding. I wasn't saying a word because they were very much on the back foot. But then I suppose you give credit for finding a way to get a result.
yeah.
But no.
It's just the whole game was just. I remember watching it thinking, this is the elite. I know it sounds stupid, but like it's the absolute best of the best going. at
I
each
know.
other.
I do know what you mean. Like that little bit of jeopardy, and it's like you come away from them games, and you're exhausted. As a fan, you're exhausted. You're like, "Oh, well, thanks. Let me go get a drink.
Yeah.
Let me have a coffee. Let me calm myself down." And I do get it. Like that little bit of high in this season is like, it's the biggest game of the season. We're going away to Liverpool, and it's like, right, let's get something here. And to get something amazing, but like you said, that second half,
Stress.
that was tough.
Shout
that
out-
was a tough watch.
Yeah, shout out to the Derby win as well, because after Rashford scored and United were defending pretty well, you're thinking, oh, they're going to do it, and then by the end, like, they do it pretty comfortably. that was nice. I enjoyed those moments. Derby's still mean a lot to this day. Yeah,
that was a good one.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm learning something about myself there.
yeah. You look back and think, oh yeah,
see someone. Do I need to speak to someone?
Jeopardy's not something to be sought. You know what I mean? It's something that just happens. But I don't enjoy it. No way.
Fair enough. Let's move on to the women's team, because again, it's a season. The January to May, didn't quite have enough left to kind of go and win the title, but broke records for their winning streak, made a statement away at Chelsea getting that win. First team to beat Chelsea at Kingsmeadow in 3 years, I think, over 30 games. It's incredible. That for me was because I was covering that game, I was lucky enough to cover it. That for me was the game where I kind of looked at that team and thought, like, wow, that's a serious result. Because again, thankful to Kiara Keaton for a couple of brilliant saves at the end, but City deserved it.
Did they? Was this the year when they beat United at Old Trafford?
Yes.
Or was that the end of last year?
Yeah, so it's the same. So that Chelsea game was in February, and then the United 3-1 where Jess Park scored, that was the month after, I think.
No, I'm talking about the game where Jill Roord scored.
Oh, that was in November, yeah.
That was in November.
That was great as well.
That was sensational.
Yeah.
To be walking away from Old Trafford with points. Oh, gosh. Whatever context that is.
Yeah, it's always a win.
It's a huge win. It's 3.5 points there if you do that. But yeah, I think for me, the women's team this year, I think you've got to go to the Barcelona game.
Agreed.
I think
100% agreed.
Thinking about like how for the previous 2 years at least, they hadn't been able to qualify for the group stages. To get through to the group stages and then to see the draw. All right, drawn Barcelona. Okay, well, what's the first game? Barcelona at home.
Great.
That's prime, like Champions League, like heritage and stuff as such, isn't it? So for them to play against them, and not only play against them, but play really well and to come away with a win. From that point, why would you believe that you couldn't win the Champions League when you've just beaten the holders in your opening game? That's probably one of the biggest crowds we've seen there, one of the liveliest crowds.
It's a record crowd.
Exactly.
Some of the best.
It wasn't like smash and grab football as well.
No.
Like tactically,
right.
like that was one of the best games I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it was like cat and mouse, and it was like everything went well, and then it was just unbelievable. Like you said, the atmosphere, unreal. And then I watched Barcelona in the final, and then watched them there. And it wasn't like there wasn't a big drop off. You weren't like, oh, Barcelona are playing badly here.
Yeah.
They were still playing how they play. And like Hasegawa was just unbelievable. Like was
baller.
What a player.
Like
baller,
ridiculous in the middle. And then you look at Barcelona's midfield three, and it's like, oh, it's all right. Like we'll be sweet.
Yeah,
and it's just like that is a crazy thing to think. But
yeah,
so good.
The fact that it's City playing well, it's not Barcelona having an off day. Yeah, maybe they didn't hit proper levels, but they weren't.
But that's because of City, though.
That's the point. That's so amazing.
The thing that it reminds me of, and it's probably a bit different in some ways, because on the day, like when City beat Real Madrid 2 seasons ago, that half of football that we saw at the Etihad, that when City men beat Real Madrid in the semi-final, the second leg, that's some of the best football I've ever seen. And it made Real Madrid look like the most average team you've ever seen. But it wasn't because Real would just have an off day. They were being forced to have an off day. And I think like this Barcelona side didn't play as badly as that, but there's still spells where at times they were like that. When you think about their heritage, you think about the stadiums they've played in, the scale of some of the games they've played in. Like they've got players in there who've won World Cups, you know. Yeah. And now here they are at the Joy, and they're suffering, you know. And they're suffering because, like, say Bunny's doing this, or Jill's doing that, or Yui's doing that. I'm like,
it was so good. Yeah. But even like down to they came out, it was freezing, and they were wearing short sleeves, and I was like, they don't know what they got. I was like, they don't know what they got themselves into. I was like, this is our day. Short sleeves in Manchester. You're crazy. But like, even like as a fan, like little things like that, you're like, oh, actually, let me find a little bit of somewhere.
For sure.
I'm like, we'll be sweet. Don't worry.
Ain't cancers anymore.
Yeah. Nice. I like that.
There's a couple of bits from that game as well. I wrote them down because I remember looking at that Barca game and thinking, I couldn't believe some of the stats. So it's the first time Barcelona haven't scored in a Champions League group game. Was that City game.
First time ever.
Ever.
Yeah.
And it's the most shots they've ever faced. So it's not just a case of us stopping them, it's also putting them in a position they don't want to be in.
They suffered. This is great. It's like, it's for those players, I'd imagine that'll probably be a game they remember for the rest of their lives. You know, however successful they prove to be elsewhere, they'll remember like playing against that Barcelona team of 2024 and like outplaying them.
Yeah.
Like how many teams will ever be able to say that?
I remember watching it and looking back, and it was like 2 games of football. Like I know obviously people say it about the halves, but it was completely different. It was like, right, first half just dominated Barcelona. And like you were saying, teams are never going to be as bad as they're always going to come out and do something different. Came out and it's like, okay, we've got to contain them and counter. And both of them were perfect. We got the goal with Bunny, and it's like, oh, we're we're shaking and moving here. Like, we've got
Yeah.
it. And it was just such a good feeling to get it, like, spot on. And, I mean, for a team and for a manager, like, to be like, oh, all the meetings, all the training worked. Like, it's just wicked.
100%.
Yeah. And then just very quickly, let's move on and have a quick shout out to the EDS and the under-18s as well, because we've obviously won the Youth Cup as well this year. And there's a lot of young lads that, I mean, at the moment, they're both pushing for the title this season. EDS have gone into the knockouts of the Champions League as well, and there's some young lads that have come up and had a chance as well. So
Yeah, it was against Leeds in the final, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Youth Cup. Yeah, I was doing commentary for that game, and as I was there, I was thinking back to my attempts at the Youth Cup, thinking back to when when I was in the academy, how much I would have loved to have won that. And some other age groups around us, they ended up winning, but to get a chance to play at the Etihad, to play in the first team stadium, it's incredible. I was lucky enough to play at Main Road. Like, for me, that's like dream come true type stuff. And they're playing there, not just playing there, they're playing there and they're winning.
Yeah.
You're lifting a trophy there, in front of like thousands of people. For some players on that pitch, that might be the biggest crowd they ever play in front of. So that day, like, you should never take it for granted. Everyone your age that's in an academy somewhere has dreamt of having that moment to be able to play in that final. And you've done it. Not only have you done it, you've won it. As I say, you've won it like well as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you now join a list of teams and players who've done something that so many people could only dream of doing. Like, I wasn't getting emotional because I'm not soft, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a serious guy. I'm a serious guy. But I was thinking to myself, like, I would have loved to have been in their position. And I'm hugely proud that, like, what I did before maybe helped some of these kids and so on and so forth, but they should savor that moment, because the Youth Cup win is, like, iconic. Some people might go through their whole career, be successful, but they remember the Youth Cup win because that's your age group. These are your people. These are your peers, and you're the best.
yeah.
I think as well, like, the growing up with that team, like with your teammates, it's different. Like, winning the Premier League and stuff is like you're brought together, but it's like these are the people that you've grown up with. You might have known 10 years. Like, that's got to be so special, because it's winning with what arguably your best friends. It'll be like your best friends in football.
Exactly.
And like you said, no one will ever be able to take that away from you. You'll always have that moment. Like,
Football,
it's so special.
And like pro football is interesting because obviously teams, you can be successful and so on individually, collectively, but everyone's got like different motivations. Like, you arrive at different places for different reasons. But when you're in the academy, your goal is to make it as a professional. You're all doing the same thing for the same reason, And these are all your people. Like, after they won, they would have all wanted to go to the same place because they're all going through the same things. You know what I mean? Maybe they're going home, going to go and play PlayStation. Maybe they're going to go into town, play pool, whatever.
As a fan as well, like, I don't know about you, Liam, like, as soon as you see your team's won the Youth Cup or you see a young player come through, it's just so exciting, and it's hard not to kind of go, oh, right, well, that's another 5-10 years time, they're going to be winning the Ballon d'Or, they're going to be doing this, but like, it's so exciting when your team's youth team does well, and it's some of your own, if you know what I mean.
Being a fan and like getting onto a player early is honestly the best thing you'll ever feel as a fan. It's like, well, I'll watch them in under 15s and now he's doing it first, and you feel like, well, I could have been a scout, like, and it's like that part of, like, you almost have a part of that journey. You feel like a bit of it belongs to you, and it's like one of our own. Like, that's like, we throw that around, but it's like, it's part of me. It's part of my family, and it's like, it's like, think of like Phil. And when you think of Phil, he's like, Phil's my little brother.
Yeah.
And it's just like, Phil wouldn't spot me in a room full of people. But I'm like, yeah, Phil. What? But it is that little, like, you see a player come all the way through, and it's so special because they understand the club. You've seen them on their whole journey, and it's like, they get it. They know what I feel. And yeah, it's a special moment. And to see him like win the Youth Cup is, you can start picking out. And it's like, if you want to come to late, just join that game, and then you're sweet, man.
Big time. There's a lot of obviously individual awards as well that players have won over the year. You could go on forever listing them all, but I think there's 3 key ones in there. There's obviously Rodri with the Ballon d'Or. There's Phil Foden winning every Premier League award, and there's Bunny Shaw winning every WSL award. So, I mean, those 3, what a start to the season they had going up. And I know, obviously, unfortunately, Rodri's out at the moment. Bunny Shaw currently injured, but I mean, they must look back on 2024 with a lot of pride.
Phil won the PFA Players.
Yeah. And so Bunny.
Yeah,
and Bunny. Yeah,
that for me is the best one. Like, they look at you and they see you as the best. Just think about that. There's a guy playing somewhere for Everton who said Phil Foden's the best player in the league this year. They only saw Phil Foden twice. You know what I mean? Played against him twice, but it's like, no, this is the guy. And I think when you get that sort of respect from your peers, it's massive. I think for Bunny, for Phil, it's deserved as well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Big time.
They were the best according to their peers. And that is genuinely the best feeling you can have. You
That
cannot
does
question
hit
it.
different, doesn't it?
You cannot.
And it's like you see the arguments on social media, and it's like, who am I to argue, or who is at whatever to argue when
You can't question it.
we'll never be that level of the peers, let alone that person. It's like, so if you voted by that, it's like we should just be like, oh, cool, that's what it is.
So it's not with the PFA one. It's not a popularity vote because most people in your industry don't know each other. So it's like if they pick you, it's because you've been the guy or the girl, as we saw with Bunny.
I suppose it's the consistency as well of it, because like you can have let's talk about, you said random Everton player talking about Phil. Phil had a blinder at Goodison. He scored an absolute worldie from memory. So like those Everton players might go back and think, right, well, I'm voting for Phil Foden because he had a blinder against me. So to get the majority shows that you are consistently doing that against every single team you come up against. So it's a measure of your success over the season, not just in
absolutely
bursts.
And what I would say as well, as the reason I do believe it's like the best accolade as well is because as a player it's very easy to hate on people. Super easy. Like if someone's a rival, I'm not going to vote for him and so on. Like, and you could argue most teams like are going to be rivals to City because they don't like him for this reason or that reason or whatever. But when you perform so well, everyone is like, no,
Undeniable.
This is the guy, or this is the girl. I'd say with Bunny, like Bunny Shaw wins that accolade and they don't win the league. So think how impressive she must have been in the games that she took part in. You know, it's crazy. If I could have won one award in my career, that would have been it. Because then it's like you'll remember that year more fondly than anything else. Because say if you have writers voting for you, they could vote for you for loads of different reasons, and they sort of get like exhaustion in terms of who they want to pick and so on, what clubs you play for. But when it's like playing, the one thing we all have in common is we all play, and all these people that play think I'm the best for this season.
That is sick, isn't it? That's a sick thing to think.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, I mean, Rodri winning it's the ultimate, isn't it?
I said I only wanted one award. Ballon d'Or would be nice as well.
Yeah.
But, you know, defenders don't win it. Was it Cannavaro?
After the World Cup.
And even that was like controversial. Oh, you can't give it to a defender. Well, why not? Same way
I feel like the Ballon d'Or is always controversial. People are always unhappy.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I think that's fair. I think there was that stretch where it was like those big two or whatever for
even
many years.
with them, if it was the other one, the people are still unhappy. It was like, should have been him, and it's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like it's just one of them awards where it creates the discourse of.
I think whether some people believe he should have won it or not, I think the bigger discussion to have is think how good a season he's had as a defensive midfielder to even be considered for the Ballon d'Or. Because what was the last defensive midfielder to even be considered at all, to be like a significant threat for it? I think he was remarkable. I think the football that he played domestically, played over here and played for Spain, is as good as we've probably ever seen. So as a consequence, yes, he's very much for me worthy of having that award. And if someone thinks that he shouldn't, like, well, you know, cry more.
Exactly. I know it seems. Can't say more, can you? Really?
That should have been the acceptance speech.
Yeah, sorry, cry more, yeah.
I know it's pretty easy for me to say it, given we're on a Man City podcast. I think it was a no-brainer that he won it, personally. Like you've said, Nedum, it's not just what he did for City and the importance of how he fits into the way that we play. It's what he did for Spain as well at the Euros. He was the best player, not just apart from Phil was the best player in the Premier League, obviously, because they voted for him, but one of the best players in the Premier League, and then the best player at the Euros. After a full season of football, he's taken two different teams to the ultimate prize you can get. Of course he's in the reckoning. Like, I don't understand why it was even considered to be something else, but
I think we're in a privileged position as City fans, though, to be able to watch him and accept and be like, right, I can fully see everything you do, and he's not playing against your team, so you haven't got to be a hater. You can just watch him and be like, he's unbelievable. And then also, we miss him so much when he's not there, so that you feel that as well. Because obviously, if he doesn't play against your team, your whatever sport, whatever team, it's like, oh, cool, Rodri's not playing, brilliant. But you don't then miss him and be like, oh, I wish I watched him play.
Yeah,
like
sure,
so, like that sort of tunnel vision. As a City fan, it's like you see everything. Like you watch him week in, week out, and you're like, this guy's special, man. Like he's unbelievable.
Yeah, without doubt.
Big time. Let's move on to something a little more festive. Boxing Day. Boxing Day football. It's a feast every year, even though we haven't played on Boxing Day for 2 or 3 years. But by the by, we're playing on Boxing Day today.
Yeah, you sold that.
Yeah. What are your two's traditions around Boxing Day? Now, start with you, Nedum, because obviously yours will have changed significantly after
You're not wrong.
stopped playing.
You're not wrong.
In the last 2 or 3 years, have you picked up any new traditions that you like?
Any new traditions? There's a tendency for me to have work to do, which is because even though I'm not playing, like I tend to be talking about people playing. There was last year? Last year I decided to not do any work, which was highly controversial because I was thankfully getting a few requests for work. That's usually a good sign.
Yeah.
But I think from my side of things, like my wife's mum and dad are separated and they've married elsewhere, so spreading out the time to go to one on Christmas Day, go to one on Boxing Day, or to see them in that order. So it feels like a second Christmas almost, because it's new faces, and new faces bring new energy, you know what I mean? As opposed to, like, with all due respect to everyone, like, Boxing Day is day 2 of the whole thing. Instead it's like, bang, we're here again. Like, as soon as people walk through the door and they see the kids are seeing them. It's like, oh, it's so good to see you, blah, 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 all this stuff. So I try and be chilled out, but just enjoy having time off, because from when I was playing, like, this period here, it kind of, let me try and be respectful to it, because it's a very important part of the season in terms of structure of the season, but also very important for how much money's made off, like, watching games, because there are a million games on, but, like, what cost? To use me as a player, there were times when I was younger. There's one in particular, I think it's my second season, and we were playing Sheffield United away. So we were training at like 4 or 5 o'clock at the stadium on Christmas Day, and then travelling up to Sheffield to stay in this hotel on Christmas Day. And I'm looking around the hotel, staff don't want to be there. Players aren't really trying to be there, you know what I mean? And then we got up and we played this game. Lost as well. It's like, well, that was fun. You know what I mean?
What's it like as a player at Christmas? Because that is, it's just something we don't really consider. I mean, working with football, you do kind of feel it, but it's like, for me, I might have to send like a few Instagram posts or so. And do you know what I mean? It's different.
I think
as a player, go in and train on Christmas Day.
I think that's the thing, really, isn't it? Like, you guys can say that, like, you've got work on Boxing Day, but how much can you push the extracurricular activities on Christmas Day before your Boxing Day work starts being affected? I think as a player, when I was at City in particular, when the fixtures came out, I saw where we were at the start of the season, the end of the season. I saw when the derbies were, and I saw where we were playing on Boxing Day. They were like the big ones for me. Because if you're at home on Boxing Day, you're at home on Christmas Day. That's massive. You know what I mean? Like, that's massive for you, for your family, and so on. Like, these days, maybe they'll make you stay in a hotel and so on, but because it's Christmas, it's a bit different. But if you're away on Boxing Day and it's a slap away, and then the coach is maybe a bit more aggro, it's like, well, we're going to train on Christmas Day as well. Like I said, what time before I was going to train? It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Christmas Day. It should be illegal to be training at that time. You know what I mean?
Got the road to clear, though.
What's that? This guy.
Every cloud, eh?
Yeah, exactly. I get it. I get its value, but it's only worthwhile if you're winning. You know what I mean? Otherwise, like, especially if you're younger and you don't have family, the kids or whatever, fine. As you get older and you start to see the kids and see how excited they are for Christmas Day, and you're saying to them every year, right, have a good Christmas, I'm going now. Like, that's a little bit heartbreaking. But yeah, it's one of them. It serves its purpose, but it always feels better when you're winning, though. Always.
Big time. But you enjoyed the one off on Boxing Day last year.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I felt a bit guilty, so I'll very much. I've got stuff to pay for this year as well, so you will see me on Boxing Day somewhere.
Christmas is big, man. I've lost jobs over Christmas before.
Yeah.
Back in the day, working like student jobs. Can you work Christmas Day? Am I Santa Claus? See you later.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
It's tough. It's a tough decision to make.
But then I know fans also get really excited about going to a Boxing Day game.
Oh, big time.
You know what I mean? Like,
On
it's
the flip
vibe.
side, yeah.
When you're off, it's great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like when you've really attacked Christmas and you've basically just about woken up on Boxing Day. It's like, oh, there's a game later. Cool, take your time. It's great for you guys. Rest of us, it's like, oh, we're going for this flipping, we're having beans on toast at 8 a.m. the next day to get ready for the game.
Don't know beans on toast, by the way.
Boxing Day, beans and toast. Yeah. Right, I reckon.
Is that a thing? Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna like it. I might go for it.
I might start it, yeah.
Right. Okay.
I might start it.
I'll walk it back then.
What are your plans for Boxing Day, Liam? Are you having to
See, I'm
cover
on
a game, or?
I'm on the flip side. I'm on the other side of the coin. I'm just gonna watch.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna sit in front of that TV and just rack up as many games as I can, and just love it. Just eat leftovers from the day before.
Yeah.
Not really do much, you know. It's like, it's still Christmassy. It's still like that sort of vibe, but there's less pressure. I don't have to cook. Like, presents are done. Like, I've rang all my family and stuff, and I can just sit and just, like, absolute square eyes watching the TV all day.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, there's so much football.
Yeah.
And like, now you said it, we spoke about it, I feel bad for loving it so much. I'm part of the demand. I'm part of the problem.
Yeah, I get it. Because to be fair, I'd do the same thing if I was in the same situation. And then it's just, as I say, as a player, it's fine as long as you're winning. But I think it's fine. It's not preferred. It's fine. Because people would like to have some time off, especially around Christmas time where everyone else is doing the same thing. You know what I mean?
I love the little cliches and traditions you get in Boxing Day as well.
Go on.
Like there's
Is it bubble and squeak and stuff like that?
Yeah, I love I'm not about the football ones.
Oh, sorry,
yeah.
my bad.
Yeah.
That graphic that always goes
Yeah.
up, 1963, and it's like 10-1, and they're like, over 1 million goals are scored on this day. Will they do it this year? And you're like, just let them play, man. But like, not even all the teams all play on the same day now. So it's like, but
Seeing it like
just-
you see it 15 times on your feed every Boxing Day. And it's
yeah.
like, oh, more
Tradition.
of the same.
Yeah, you
I've
love it,
got
don't you?
Oh, if the results are like that, yeah,
Okay.
be amazing.
but only if you're on the winning side again.
Yeah, yeah.
Because imagine you're on the
the
Boxing
other
Day,
side.
losing
It's
10-1.
10-1.
Yeah, the other side to the coin, yeah. Oh, yeah, we were involved in that iconic day as well, yeah. It's fun. It was
great.
I loved it, yeah.
Loved every
Terrific,
minute.
yeah. Highlight of my life, yeah.
What would you say has been your favourite festive game? And I'll push it out to New Year as well. I count it all as the same thing.
It's a blur, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
For me, I'm grateful to push it out to New Year, and I forget the exact season, but it was a season where Leroy Sané scores against Liverpool to make it 2-1.
Yeah.
Because that game itself, there was so much pressure building on City at the time. And I think they were 8 points clear at that moment. If City don't win, if Liverpool win, it's 11. Season's basically done. But then even still, you win it goes to 5. Also, it was something similar to that sort of points bracket. That's still pressure in itself, but that feeling there is one of the biggest sparks that I've ever felt as a fan of Man City, because you could sense that this was the change. It was you versus them, and you just beat them. If you can beat them, why can't you beat everybody? That sort of energy there. I think it was just a turn of the year as well. I was still playing at this point, but I was very much celebrating that moment. And that was probably the highlight of my own personal season as well, to be honest, watching City beat Liverpool that day, yeah.
That Aguero celebration is burnt into my brain. I can close my eyes and see it perfectly, and it's just the whole game. Stones' clearance.
Well,
like there were so many things that you think like if that was over a season, like the Sané goal, Aguero goal, the clearance, you go like, that's enough drama for the season. One game, 90 minutes. I mean, you probably loved it.
I
You probably
loved the
drinking
jeopardy of it,
that up.
yeah.
I know. Well, I was going to say something else that I thought was actually quite weird, which is probably a bit worrying. That Aguero's goal, the net, when the ball hits the net, the sound of it, I remember that really distinctly. It's those beautiful net when the ball hits back of the net and it makes a proper sound.
Yeah,
it's one of them. If you watch the highlights back, just look at the.
I'll be honest. Looking back, in fact, not even looking back. So whenever I get the chance to be pitch side for a game these days, I like to be out there and watch teams warm up and stuff. And I look back and I think how lucky I was to be doing that, but then to also think how high level you need to be able to do it. But one thing that rings true is I would say first, my only regret in football is I wish I scored more goals, because that feeling of a ball hitting the net, I cannot put into words how nice it is, especially when you've done it. You know what I mean? Like you're talking about that sound for Aguero. Do you not think Sergio heard that? He's going nuts.
Yeah.
That sound will never be defeated. Never.
It's class, isn't it?
Oh, incredible. Absolutely incredible.
And I think the big thing with that game as well against Liverpool, my maths might be off. I'm pretty sure if Liverpool win that game,
It's done, yeah.
they get it's obviously done. They win the Premier League. They go unbeaten, and they break the points record.
It's accolade after accolade.
Yeah. So it shows again how important that result was, and how it was City that won the league rather than Liverpool collapsing, because Liverpool still finished on 98 points.
I think it was, yeah.
And City on 98, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's just mad when you think about it.
That game, the atmosphere was unbelievable. No, and it's it was obviously incredibly loud, but also it's you can find silence in it almost, and it's you could feel your heart beating, and then it's as the goal goes in, you're then right. Let me work out the future results we need for this to work, and it's just, it was unbelievable. I remember being in the press box and feeling sick, and trying to get all the things. I'm what's going on?
Do you know what I think is prime for me about that? And I suppose you could stretch this out to every football fan as such. I think people are more comfortable when they're the underdog as opposed to the favourite. Yeah. So even if you're playing well, as City were doing that season, here's a moment where you are playing at home with your crowd, and it's a must-win for you because the favourites rolled up.
Yeah.
And the favourite tag for them, it's minute because they were just ahead. They weren't the better team as such. But then you're in there and you're feeling it. To go back to a game that I played in, it was when we played Hamburg in the UEFA Cup. And it was a quarter-final, second leg, and we had a player sent off, and the noise went even higher.
I remember this so clearly.
You know what I mean? Here's the identity of old school to mid to old school Man City. We're good, but we're the underdog, and we're going to show them. We're going to stop this big bad whatever. And that's what it felt like against Liverpool. Even though, like I say, both teams finished combined, they had nearly 200 points in the league. It's a bonkers season.
Wild.
But in that moment, how many people felt like the favourite in that stadium? And when their backs were against the wall, did they get louder or did they get quieter? It was louder. Like, the atmosphere was amazing. It's a must-win game. Must-win game against the nemesis.
It could have been so easily spirits down.
Yeah.
We'd just lost, I think it was Newcastle before, and it's like, right, they're X amount of points ahead of us now. Could have gone in the heads down. It's like, league's done. And it just wasn't like that at all. It was like, right, we've got to get up for this.
Yeah. It's exciting.
Everyone did. Like,
Amazing.
I don't think that game can be topped, but the one that I really, really enjoyed was at the Emirates a couple of years ago when Rodri scored. Last kick of the game. Because we went one down and then scored a penalty. I think Mahrez scored a penalty. And Bernardo won the penalty. And, I mean, Arsenal felt it shouldn't have been a penalty. And they also felt they should have had one earlier in the game. But you go into the end of it and you're thinking, 1-1, you take a point, like, tough game, good way to start the new year, blah, blah, blah. And then right at the end,
Rodri the menace. Of course, he's up there.
I feel like we play Arsenal around the festive period a lot.
Yeah.
In my head, this is so like greedy of me, but I remember going to Arsenal to cover a game and like their roast dinner was banging. I can't remember the result. I can't remember the result. I know we won, but like I was like, yep, get there. They were like, oh, it's a roast dinner. I was like, that is unbelievable. And like having like so many Christmas cakes. And being like, oh, I wish we play them at Christmas all the time because this food was like spot on. And it's like, I can't remember the result for the life of me. But like the roast dinner at Arsenal, unbelievable stuff.
that one. Yeah, that game. I mean, the food at Arsenal is elite. Let's face it.
I'm glad that someone else
It
agrees.
is. Opening game of the season for the women when Jess Park and Miedemar scored, and the food was just a different level. But let's go back on to what we were actually supposed to be talking about because that is definitely getting
Festive period.
Yeah, exactly. Bang. Another thing as well, obviously, is festive chants. Can you think of any that you've enjoyed over the years that have come through at City or anything like that? It's a tough one. The ones I remember after a little bit of refreshing as well was the one with Sean Goater. Feed the goat.
Oh, that's top. Yeah.
Football fans are creative, man. Like, I love it.
It's great. Are there any others you can think of, or it's a tough one, isn't it? But
that is a tough one. You're right, but they are very, very creative. They tend to be really like motivated for those games as well. You know, that's when you sometimes get the best of them.
What was your chant again?
We are the Nedum Onuoha Society. When people are singing your name, it's nice. It's so nice.
Do you instantly hear it? Is it like...
Yes. Yeah. Because to be fair, they usually start singing it, say, if you defend, if you've just done something. So the crowd's up anyway. You know what I mean? Like, having a bunch of people like cheer for you and celebrate like that. Such a good feeling.
You've just done a big slide tackle.
Yeah.
Pinged it, and then you hear that.
I was like, Chief! Like,
Yeah, that is...
That's me. That's me. I'm him. But yeah, they're creative. And to be fair, when I was much younger as well, they used to be good fun because I was like 17, 18. And it'd get to a certain point and they'd be starting saying, shouldn't you be getting ready for school? That type of thing in the away fans. They used to give me some of that. That was fun. It's like, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm warming up on the side. Hey, you not got to school in the morning? Like, yeah, I do. Actually.
Yeah, I think that's funny when you're like,
I actually do.
Yeah,
do my
you
levels.
got-
You're like, fair, I probably
cool,
should just get this warm up done quick.
Yeah.
Go
Too many
jump on my
Christmas,
GCSEs.
or like ones who call you soft because you're wearing gloves, and I'm looking at them with a hat and coat and gloves as well.
Snood.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm sure we're in the same
Stuff like
place
that
here.
is well
Yeah,
funny,
we're
you're
in the same
like-
place here. I'm in shorts and t-shirt, but sure, I'm soft. Sure, go
Stuff
for it.
like that is like, you're like, what? It's like confusing. You're like, did you get annoyed by it? It's like, no, I didn't really.
Yeah, it's just-
I'm a bit lost. I didn't really focus because you're
Yeah,
doing.
can't quite hear you over your snood, mate. But yeah, sure.
Take your Santa hat off and show me your
exactly.
face.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're hard when you got the beard on. Take
Yeah,
that off.
exactly.
Bit of trivia for you
Go on.
now, guys, because I love a bit of a quiz on Christmas as well. The last game on Boxing Day, we obviously play Everton on Boxing Day this year, but the last time City actually played on Boxing Day was in 2021. We beat Leicester 6-3. 21-22. So it was the season that the 3-2 Aston Villa, Gundogan.
Okay.
That season.
Yeah.
Okay.
We won 6-3 against Leicester. Can you name me the starting 11?
So we start from the top. So Edison.
Yeah. One down.
Got Walker. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
Nope.
Was it Kanji around this time? It wasn't, was it?
No, so it's a 4-3-3, but this is obviously before Haaland as well. So the striker situation is interesting.
Was this the falsy situation? False nine times.
It's a falsy.
Who was playing Cancelo?
Yep.
So Zinchenko left side.
Yep.
So it would have been Ruben Diaz, John Stones.
Diaz, yes, not John Stones.
If it was a free.
Laporte.
Yeah,
Ah,
and he actually
nice.
scored in the game as well. Laporte.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, your midfield
Fernandinho.
three. Yep, Fernandinho starting.
Kev.
Yep, Kev.
Gundogan.
Yep. Oh God, I was expecting you to take a while on this. We've got.
No, it's still time. Bernardo Silva then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. Right, two more.
And then
Foden.
he'd be on the wings. You said
Yeah.
Foden. You said Foden already.
No, I didn't say Foden. 'Cause I need to get him.
Foden's on the bench,
Ah.
but both of these players scored. They both scored penalties actually.
So Sterling Morris.
Yeah, I made that too easy, didn't I? Shouldn't have said that.
I'm so locked in. Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah.
What's the prize?
That was the team.
Yeah, there's no prize.
What's the prize?
If you name the subs as well.
You know what's funny about that? Like, I do remember that game, and in fairness, it wasn't like glorious. It was like quite a bit of stress in it because Leicester were like scoring. City score, Leicester score. City score, Leicester score. But as I look back at since I retired in end of 2020, I look back at all the different years, and every year's been different because with watching City full on at that point, there's the year when like there's the false nine. Then there's like the Fernandinho comes out and in comes like a Rodri type thing.
Yeah.
You know, then there's the Haaland era. Like, there's been about 4 different. The Cancelo coming in off the fullback era and all this stuff. Like, there's been so much like change in those 4 or 5 years. But I can, because as soon as you said false nine, I was like, well, I know this team then.
Yeah.
It's only like subtle changes as well, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
Which is, just keeps tweaking it.
Which is what I think's amazing.
Yeah.
For him to have been the same but different for 4 years straight, genuinely like iconic.
And to be as successful as we have.
Best of the best.
That sums
Like,
it up though, innit?
'Cause it's like it's all good changing it.
Yeah.
But people always say, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know?
Nah, that's where people go wrong because the Premier League changes every year.
Yeah.
The
Got to
more,
change when you're on
the
top,
more
definitely.
footage people have of you, the more they understand how you play. That's when you got to just shake up a little bit.
Yeah.
I like it.
Heard it.
Big time. Right, let's finish off with some New Year's resolutions. Let's do.
Oh my god.
We can start with our own, or do you want to start with what you feel New Year's resolution or the lesson could be for each of our teams first? Or do you want to start with your
Each
own?
of our teams? What do you mean? What
Like
City fans here now?
men's teams, women's
Oh,
teams.
I thought someone did Sport City then for a second.
No chance. Absolutely no chance.
New Year resolution. I'm not a big fan of resolutions because do they last for the whole year or is it just for 30 days?
Should-
no, that's the
should-
Easter one, isn't it?
Yeah,
Lent,
should be
yeah,
should be for
that's
life,
Lent.
really, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's just, I get funny about New Year's resolutions because, well, if you can do it on the 1st, you can do it on the 31st or whatever. You could do it the day before.
So
Start the day.
maybe if you're doing something, roll it over then.
I'm just saying, if you think you can do something on that day, why don't you start it today?
Can you do it on a cold, windy night on the 12th
Yeah, can you?
of Feb?
Can you do it on whatever date we're recording this podcast now, or do you have to wait another 3 weeks before?
Well, it's preparation for the new year, isn't it? So aim high and then prepare yourself
don't-
to start.
Yeah, I'd just be wary of getting a gym membership because that type of thing doesn't last too long and doesn't move too well.
One for the people, if you're going to get into the gym for the new year, leave January, start in February. It's been much more quiet.
Yeah, the issue with that is then when February comes and you didn't done it for January, it's just like, wow.
Missed out on all the sales.
Yeah.
all the sales. Paying full price, but the gym is empty, bro. Trust me.
And you've done nothing for 2 months, so you're just waiting.
Do you know what? If we make it about the teams, I
Yeah.
think for the men and the women's team, I think just having players being available in good health for prolonged periods of time. And I don't think you can have a resolution as such to bring that in, but that's
That's
what
more a
they both
Christmas
need.
wish, eh?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what they both need, though.
Let's do that
Yeah.
then. Christmas
You know what I
wish
mean?
rather than a resolution.
Yeah, seeing good health for both teams.
Full bit of health, yeah.
Because then we'll see the best version of them. And the best version of them is like still, without a doubt, some of the best football in this country and around the world. So that's what I'd wish for good health. And, you know, some people say, oh, how about form, this, that, and the other? I think form starts with good health.
Of course it does.
When you've got like the full complement available, like you talk about the women's team, like you're missing Miedema, you're missing like Lauren Hemp, you're missing Alex Greenwood, to name, but through Bunny's out. Like these are 4 of probably the top 20 players in the league.
Yeah, you take them 4 and you put them in any team in the WSL, and all of a sudden they're
Exactly,
they're challenging straight away.
Get the players back to a point where a manager can pick a team according to what's needed in the game, as opposed to just the people that are available.
Yeah.
That's the big thing for me. So if somehow that can happen in the second half of the season, I think we'll have some really good memories. And in a year's time, we'll be talking about another incredible year, I imagine.
My wish for the women's team is to. I'm not obviously talking about winning it because I'm only back in it this season, but to go the distance in the Champions League, get a big draw in the quarters, or if we're lucky enough to get to the semis or something, play like a Lyon or someone away from home and learn from it and develop into the new season would be a big one, because I think just the experience of that would be really, really
It's
cool.
like to see your level.
Yeah,
like because we've
exactly.
been out of it so long. Like we can be like, oh, we're one of the best teams in the world, but other teams, your Lyon can be like, well, who you played?
Yeah.
And it's like to be able to then shape yourself up, measure yourself against them. I think we'll have a good run.
And I do think as well, because we've played Barca and shown we can compete. So going into those games as well, it maybe takes some of the fear away from it as well. It's something that you're wary of how dangerous your opposition is, but equally you're aware of how you can lay down a marker on them as well. So I think Europe would be a big one. And the other one is some of the younger players that have had a chance recently.
Yeah, shout out to them.
Seeing them develop a bit more and have more opportunities, because I mean, the obvious one is Lily Murphy, because she's sort of played a bit more.
She looks
so
good.
Yeah, but every time she plays, you can see her getting more confident, and I mean, her pace is so unique.
She's so direct.
Yeah,
which is
so having the confidence to do it and to take on your player, and it'd be nice to see how they develop as well. So that'll be my other wish.
Absolutely.
I think, but they sort of almost contradict each other, right? Because it's like younger players tend to get more of a shout when players are injured, right?
Well, I left a little bit of something there for interpretation.
Okay.
And I said, have everybody fit and available so that the manager can pick the best team for any game, as opposed to just who's available.
Okay.
That didn't rule out youngsters.
Okay, sweet. Yeah.
You see,
I'll take
that's the thing. Because for some of the youngsters, like you're talking about, Murphy as well, like every youngster at some point has a start. Sometimes it's due to somebody being out, but then at some point they've still got that position when somebody comes back, because that's when the manager knows they're the right person for that moment.
Yeah.
So when you have the collective, everyone's strengths are different. Maybe you need someone that's younger, that's not like jaded from 10 years worth of playing pro football. You know what I mean? And that's the collective, and having that balance of young, middle-aged, old, whatever. That's what makes great teams, in my opinion, because you can't go too far one way or the other. See, I
sat me down. Fair enough. I'll take it.
I know my words matter, so I need to make sure I was very, very clear about that.
You know what? I think I'm going to be very basic. And
you don't have to be.
Well, because this is what I want. This is it. Ultimately, trophies. Okay. You know, across both. It's very, especially for the women's team, it's very good to be a wicked team, but it's hard to look back and be like, oh, we didn't win anything.
Yeah.
And opposition fans would be like, oh yeah, you were great, but what have you won?
Yeah.
And it's like, to be able to hang your hat on a trophy for the season, I think that's great.
Yeah.
And it's like, it might not have the best season, but if it's like, right, we can still get some silverware. As a fan, that's all you want. Like, to
absolutely.
be like, yeah, we won this, won that. Like, that's buzzing.
Yeah, they're good enough as well. They know they can do it.
Sure.
So, you know, the push is on, isn't it?
Yeah, you obviously you make your own look, and you win things if you deserve to win them. But it feels like they deserve it as well. Like this is a team that has really had to overcome some difficult situations with injuries and so far. And
I'm just going to pause you for a second and just say this is a very unique perspective, as we are here on the Man City podcast, saying the Man City women's team deserve to win something. Okay,
And the men's team.
And men's teams, yeah. I mean, obviously every other team would agree as well. Obviously,
yeah, they all
you know what I mean.
Personally, I think we've been really good this year.
Everyone wants us to
Yeah, everyone wants City to win. Yeah, obviously.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Let's do a show of hands. Who wants City to win something? You know?
Listen,
like, 3 out of 3.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't disagree, but I tend not to say it out loud. But let's just put it that way. Yeah.
Oh, I'll say it.
Yeah, he said it. That's
Let
George,
it rain
everyone.
down on me.
That's George, everyone. Yep.
Oh, I'm going to regret that, aren't I?
Nah, you'd be
it's
sweet.
fine.
You'd be sweet. It's the
Just say
internet.
I
It's
said
fine.
it.
It's the internet. It's fine. Nothing.
Everyone's in a charitable mood on Christmas Day.
It's the internet. Nothing happens.
No one remembers on the internet. Don't worry, there'll be like a cat playing piano tomorrow. So it'll be fine. You'll be forgotten.
Yeah,
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure knowing you both.
Well said. Well said.
No, enjoyed it, guys. I hope you have a very Merry Christmas, both of you. And thank you to everybody who's been watching, listening, however you followed the podcast today. A very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and see you in 2025.
The unbeatable official Manchester City podcast. Watch the full video version of this show via City Plus now.